Well, it's Tuesday, and this is still Trekland HQ, and we are live. Yeah. The fires, Star Trek, horses, and Will Rogers. Today on Trekland Tuesdays Live, number 384, with me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek, coming at you here from the heart of Trekland. Here via Portal 47, and yes, Trekland Treks, your own customized away mission to real Star Trek locations, not sound stages, but the outdoor locations. Co-planned and concierge-led by yours truly. Get in touch with me at larrynemecek.com or treklandtreks.com. So yes, welcome back for another Tuesday here of some clarity, sanity, and the big picture in so many things Star Trek. Hey, everybody. Thank you for hanging in with me today here. I think we're live. Looks like we're live. And there we go. And yes, it has been a week. You know, it was only a week ago I was talking about, I dawned on me that I had been a fan, Star Trek fan, for 50 years. Sometime last spring, no exact date. And we also talked about looking forward to 2025. And as we do that, I want to make sure and say hi to everyone around the world right now watching us live. And hey, if you're watching us later on YouTube, that's awesome. Make sure you can leave a comment and keep the conversation going, okay? But please, hello to everybody around the world. And if you're just finding yourself to Trekland Tuesdays Live, we've been doing this since 2017 in an ever increasingly more, I think, sophisticated way. But so glad you could join us. I do it here so we can reach around the world. We've got folks on several continents, at least Europe and Australia, a couple of times South America and Africa, and Asia, actually, once. Thanks for being here. I'm going to talk on a topic today, then we'll take a micro break, and then I will dive into the chat. So if I'm not looking at you in chat, don't take it personally. I will back scroll and get to it. And by the way, if you're new to Tuesdays Live, you want to say welcome. You want to say hello to everybody. We've got a great community in the chat. And here's the secret. If you're on YouTube or Twitch, you're seeing everybody. If you're only on Facebook, well, you're only seeing Facebook chat, okay? Just if you're wondering and puzzled what's going on. So come over, and while you're coming over to YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe and do all those things too. It helps us out a lot. And on YouTube, we are monetized for Super Chat. So if you really want to get in with me on something, it's always appreciated. A little change in the pot never hurts. Sure do appreciate it, because otherwise this is not monetized, and I appreciate everybody who's this particular part of Trekland isn't. And I appreciate everybody getting on, because it's good to see everybody. It's good to know that we're connected, right? We've been through, feels like so much. The early fans were getting through Vietnam and the draft and the early ecology movement, and then civil rights and women's rights and gay rights and fighting AIDS, and just so much up and up and up. We've had economic crashes and all that, and ups and downs. And it's been a week here. I can't believe it's been a week since I had a happy dappy looking forward to 2025, and I still am. But for all of you who are on my Instagram channel, or maybe not, I did go on live a week ago tomorrow, Wednesday night, and talk about the LA fires, and in particular, the first 24 hours of the fires, when the winds were like at 80 miles an hour, which is hurricane force winds, only instead of water, it was fire, and there was no way. And that's why you hear about the Palisades, the beautiful Palisades area on the coast and inland, being wiped out. And that is why I have been gut punched and staggered with my fellow foundation board members and docents and the entire community. People with homes that have been lost. You've been hearing about it all week. And the Eaton fire over by Pasadena and Altadena. And some other smaller fires that have cropped up and have been more or less roped in. But the Palisades fire, and losing my other passion in life, well, This guy, Will Rogers. But here in California, I call them Will East and Will West. So Will's birthplace is in Claremore. I'm a native Okie, and so was Will. And we both came to California, uh, drawn by new media and looking for bigger and better things than we could do back home. And we had Will's West, apart from the Oklahoma base of his birth and all the monuments and things there, birthplace and all that, his adult home, where he actually lived during his LA years and built his ranch and wonderful visiting place he hosted people so often, parties and everything. The ranch house, the stables were lost in the Palisades fire. And I'm sure you've seen some of that. Yeah. But I'm going to switch back and forth today. I'm going to be a little selfish, but also talk more broadly. And I do that. There's a weird kind of guilt where everybody, so many people with their own homes, and then people with businesses. And there are schools and churches that were lost in the Palisades and over at Altadena and some of the other fires as well. It's hard to get your mind wrapped around this. I'm going to say a couple of things right off the bat. There's no corruption going on here. There's no budget cutting. The people jumping in to try to make something out of all this misery and tragedy. This was unprecedented. This was biblical. They're throwing all the adjectives at it. This was global warming stuff. The hurricanes are bigger. The winds are bigger. The water's hotter in the Gulf. The tornadoes are bigger. I wasn't there, but I know firsthand what that felt like to see them add a whole new classification at the top of the EF scale for tornadoes back in 99 through central Oklahoma, ending up in Moore, ending up a half mile from where Janet and I first lived when we were first married. Everything is more. And it didn't matter if there'd been a few million or a few hundred more firefighters or better water pressure. When you've got, just imagine a hurricane with wind. They love to talk about sharknadoes. Well, imagine a fire NATO for hours. And that's what happened Wednesday night, with winds so high that the water scoopers, the helicopters, the planes, not all of them are on site. Thank you, Canada, for sending those down. Thank you, 1,500 Mexican Mexican firefighters. All the states in mutual aid got here. But that first 24 hours was horrendous, and that's what got Wills. And that's what got so much of the Palisades. 80-mile-an-hour winds where none of the aircraft could get to the air and help, especially after dark. And the thing about the water pressure, the LA grid is made for fighting individual house fires. Nobody's thinking you're on a grass fire level. I remember wildfires. We had those back home. I covered them running around in the county outside of Norman. And yeah, we had an arsonist then. The Banner Road Bandit set several fires near the house I grew up in, where my dad still lived back then. They're coming to see that probably maybe even the Palisades fire was saying human cause, whether it was specifically arson or somebody's campfire got away. That's a ways away. But the bottom line here is the water grid. Nobody envisioned fighting firestorms in the middle of town. Around the edges, yeah. Being able to use the water scoopers, yeah. It was just, what I'm trying to say here is all these people pointing fingers about planning. And if there was the infrastructure's fault, it was infrastructure laid down 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. It took the Northridge quake to realize how much engineering could be done with retrofitting buildings against earthquake. That's where we are. Right now, there's so many people in pain and hurting. The Getty Villa, I'm so thankful, was saved. Greek and Roman sculpture, statues, art there on the coast. I don't know how they did it, but that's great. We didn't have a multi-million-dollar. We had sprinklers at the ranch, and I'll talk about that first. But this is a Star Trek show, and a lot of you, I'd like to think a lot of you watching my channels heard about Wills. A lot of you heard a lot about some of the Star Trek reactions. Okay. So first off, I guess I should say thank you to everybody who's checked in on us personally. Since we moved last year, we're 50 miles away. But I swear I've heard from text and messaging and everything from I think people from every phase of my life, people I haven't talked to in 10 and 20 and 30 years, both about the LA fires and when they heard Will Rogers lost and they thought of me. A lot of folks back home from all phases of my life. It's been great to hear from them. It's been kind of a silver lining in a way, in a very otherwise, dark, dirty, noxious cloud. Silver lining in a in an ugly cloud here with the greater LA fires. So we're fine, just so everybody knows. And yes, there's been a lot of impact of the fires on on thousands of people, and a lot of them overlap Trekland. And you may have noticed, if you've been watching your socials, David Goodman, the writer who joined the Enterprise crew for a while and then went on to, American Dad for years with Seth MacFarlane, and then went over to the Orville and has been writing on the Orville. And also, I want to say immediate past president of the Writers Guild that got them through the agents' big reform movement, an agency fees reform movement that helped the writers against their own agents, and was immediate past president during the strikes. David lost his pretty home he's had for, I think he said 28 years. A lot of you may have noticed that, of course, Denise Crosby lost her home in the Palisades, and she's been out there, and I think she's going through therapy, channeling what that recovery's been like. And then a lot of folks that have high profiles have been talking about some of the greater Star Trek creative family, the folks that hopefully someday we'll get on Portal 47, the backstage folks. Tara Metalis was trying to point up a GoFundMe for one of the editors on Picard, Justin Block, and his family. Tawny Newsome was pointing up a new writer on everybody's new on Academy. We haven't seen their work yet, but one of the writers on Academy, L'Oreal Mather, who had credits on other shows before Academy. Apparently William Eliscu, who was the art director for Picard on season 2 and 3, or an art director, lost. There's probably more. My new attorney that I just had to commission for a couple of things just in the last couple of months was right in the Palisades, ironically, and he lost his home and business. He said he had everything backed up. Everything of his business law firm was backed up on digital, thank God, because it's just incredible to think. You think around the edges, but the beachfront homes, the mountaintops, yeah, maybe, but the in-town parts, and make no mistake, not all movie star homes. Lots of flatland, legacy homes through families, blue-collar workers, all over LA, much less right there in the Palisades. So people have really expensive dirt, and they're trying to rebuild homes. I hope most of them are, and I hope somehow the character of the Palisades can be maintained, the laid-back little nature. And whatever gentrification and people swooping in to take advantage, I hope people are smart enough to jump on that, especially after watching what happened to Lanai Hanahai in Hawaii, the coastal town, little old coastal town that got wiped out and is trying to resist plans to be all shiny new where nobody can afford to live there anymore. You've also seen some other effects. Trek Talks 4, the all-day telethon started by John Billingsley and Hollywood Food Coalition to benefit that group and all of its arms that reach across the country, actually. And now Bonnie Gordon co-hosts it. It was going to be a day-long of panels. I had a panel. Wonderful. I'll hold off talking about it. You've seen a lot of the guests announced. They made the decision. It was supposed to be this Saturday, but so many of the guests of the Trek folks are affected just with the chaos. And they've postponed that till sometime in April. I haven't seen a confirmed day, but they're saying April for that. So Trek Talks 4 in April. Now we, meaning moi, have delayed the season opening of the Trek Files. I know I've been saying a week and then a week. We're shooting for next Monday, but it might even be delayed past that. So just hang with us. We'll make sure and let you know, because we have some new shiny stuff around the edges of the Trek Files for this season. Lucky season 13. And we'll make sure and share that as soon as we can. But these are all ripple effects. Now, Star Trek San Francisco, Creation's first cycle back around to the regional shows that it's gonna keep again, is still on track for a week from this weekend in actually Burlingame out by the San Francisco airport. And I'm going to be there. It's the only one of the regionals that I get to. It'll be good to see all the live fans and folks that are there. There's, it'll be good to get out, but everybody make no mistake. The shock here is the headline of the fire losses, the rebuilding, the insurance wrangling and hassling and hoping nobody gets screwed by insurance, because we've seen that in Florida and California. Rebuilding and getting enough of a settlement to be able to put their house up on their very expensive dirt that they have now. I'm just praying that everybody's able to rebuild in some way, some fashion, that the overall character somehow can be maintained and retained. But that's all down the line. It's going to be a long haul. And one thing I've seen people complaining on the border of politicizing this or just feeling hurt, people saying, why should anything be done for the Palisades victim when all the flood victims in Western North Carolina haven't been fully addressed yet? Well, they shouldn't. Everybody should be helped. Everything should be brought to fruition. As Will once said, this is the United States of America. This is the greatest country in the world, and we have the resources to do that. Nobody should be it shouldn't be a contest between ravaged areas of the country and natural disasters, except for somebody to notice that the natural disasters are getting more frequent and reinventing scales of whatever the disaster is. So one thing that's going on right now, and shout out and kudos, is if you're not aware of them, there's a Facebook group called the Trek Family. Mark Sickle was the founder of that, and it was a great networking. He's along a little bit of a parallel where they're trying to highlight a lot of the folks that work on Star Trek as well, the greater family, and especially at the studios. And they've started a GoFundMe to help some of the folks I just was listing. Probably many more by now that we don't know, across all the eras. It was fascinating to me that one of the there's an historically African-American Black community in Altadena that people are concerned about being able to rebuild. Oh, this is over by Pasadena. Thank God it didn't come over any closer to the Rose Bowl or JPL. That was the first night. That was a huge concern, aside from all the other concerns. And I just want to say real fast, the winds have not died down. There are still some hotspot worry areas. If something gets away with you can't control the wind. That's why I want to tell all these politicians, it's like, yeah, you get in there and fight with 80-mile-an-hour winds and then try to find somebody to blame for the high winds. Until we figure out the next wave of how do you retrofit for wind and fire the way they eventually have been doing for earthquakes the last 30 years. We keep learning, keep getting better at it, try to learn from the losses. But I'm just saying, Trek Family is doing this as a GoFundMe. You'll see some folks jumping in with their individual ones. They're highlighting those. But if you go to the Trek Family's pages, there's links. You can get in and give money. Because that's one thing. People are sitting around the country. I'd like to think only a certain segment is either smirking about. There's blue-collar people that may lose their they're making $80,000 a year. They're barely, the only reason they can live in their $1 million homes is because it was their parents or their grandparents, and real estate values went crazy. And they may be grandfathered in on property taxes by Prop 13, which came in the late 70s. Otherwise, the movie stars grab the attention. But that's 5% of the Palisades. That's crazy. Some of the stuff you just have to bat it down. So that's the thing. If you're sitting at home and helpless and you want to do something and you want to target your community, because that's what's going to happen. And just like the folks in North Carolina, I'm concerned that there will be attention fatigue and will pass on. And so the people who are tightest in communities are going to be the ones most focused. So as the world at large moves on, because don't know if you've noticed or not, but there's suddenly about to start being a whole lot of crazy headlines spewing almost daily. It will take attention away after the inauguration, and it'll take attention away from these folks in recovery. And yeah, the folks in North Carolina don't deserve to be forgotten about. Nobody deserves to be after a thing like the people in Flint, Michigan, dealt with being a huge headline and then still taking years to get their pipes fixed and their water system mess cleaned up that a appointed bureaucrat screwed up in the first place. So we'll keep our eye on that. With the Trek community helping our Trek folks, we'll be there. And that's one thing about having these community focused helps, and you're seeing those pop up. So if you're in some other community, artists, different ethnic groups, it's just going to be all over the map, and they're going to be with us for a long time. You're going to see individual GoFundMe's. It's just a thing. But that's why. I mean, the first wave has been awesome. There's been so many Los Angeles area. There's donation centers just to get clothing. People are clearing out their. If you don't know, people are clearing out their closets, their homes to find decent clothing of all kinds. And there was one at the Rose Bowl. There was one at the Pasadena Convention Center, just for the Altadena side of things, which I knew better. One at the Santa Anita racetrack. And within 3 or 4 days, they were turning people away. They had so many clothes of all kinds to process, kids, adults, all that. On the west side, I know there are a couple, not so familiar, but they're out there. And a lot of people, Kate Mulgrew, talk about Trek people, was posting places to go and do stuff. A lot of people are doing what they can to help from wherever they are in the country. And so that is why I hope you let me take a point of personal privilege and talk about my other community, Will's community, because losing the ranch house and the stables is a horrific historical, cultural loss. Emotional, but also just historical and cultural. 2 things. We had a community of docents and our paid park staff, maintenance, interpretation, curators, and we had our foundation board, and we had vendors, including our biggest vendor, who was Jigsaw Farms, Cha-Cha, whose basically office was the horses that she rented and then was allowed to give riding lessons in the corral and stables. So we've lost our historic structures, most of them. There are a few outbuildings that somehow survived. But Jigsaw Farms, our horse vendor, has lost the home for 10 horses and their home where their home was, burned out of work and home, like so many in the Palisades. And 4 employees, just so you know. So I'm doing what I can on my channels to pass along what you can do there, okay? I'm gonna put 2 things in the chat. One of them is, first of all, in the spirit of Will, and I'm saying this because 2 days after the fires, our foundation board of directors, of which I've been privileged to be, I've been a 22-year docent at the park, been on the board since the end of the pandemic, and they made me president 2 years ago. Although I'm kind of the rookie in many ways as far as what they're doing, but we met, Zoomed, getting the bulletins from the state parks people who are assessing the site, the 4 pickup loads full of art and artifacts that they were able to get out, but nothing large. The 20s and 30s Monterey Mission furniture, so many quirky things about Will's personal effects. We don't know yet. They've already been accessioned, stored. They're getting into storage. A lot of the Charles Russell paintings and bronzes, a lot of the Ed Barine paintings and etchings. It's those things, but that's the high end value. We have a lot more besides that. I hope a lot of the housewares and kitchen artifacts from the 20s and 30s and personal quirky things of Will's and the families made it. We just don't know yet. That's part of the wondering. Just like so many people have not been able to get back to their homes in the Palisades. But what we decided to do, because big decisions about the park itself and how we would keep interpretation going there, so that Will's home place, which was the reason for the season of the dedication, it wasn't dedicated for hiking trails. It was dedicated as a monument and legacy to Will. What in future interpretation, what looks like. So it's not just a glorified name on a glorified hiking trail. That's all months in the future between state parks. and the foundation as a partner, and the community. We decided to focus right now on our people, on our vendors, and our volunteers, and our park staff that have been burned out and lost everything. So this, I'm putting this in the chat. It's not a GoFundMe, it's a direct access to the foundation, and we'll announce what we got, and we've already got our list of several people that we're going to try to help with this money of our employees. And at the same time, if you have anything left over, if you want to help also, if you want to help out with Jigsaw Farms, I just saw on their page they got a huge they got like 4 days worth of feed from a local feed company as a help. This is supporting Cha Cha and Jigsaw Farms and the 10 horses who were all evacuated in that 2-hour window. They had to evacuate and clear out the house as much as they could up until the time the ranger and the firefighter were ordering everybody to leave. It was just who was there on site and who they could grab. There were 10 bodies helping, trying to throw things into pickups. I mean, they were loading up the high-end things, but I would have and at the end they were grabbing stuff and throwing it in personal cars. So barely had 2 hours to evacuate this. Anyway, that is, those are the 2 links. If you will indulge me, everybody. And here's the thing. Yeah, I'm mentioning my Will Rogers life here on my Star Trek show. It struck me years ago, and it took Terry Rio writing DeForest Kelley's biography, Dr. McCoy, to say, and she was a denizen, she was a horse person, and she came and rode at the park. And she said, I get it why you're such a Trek fan, and I get it why you're a fan of D. Kelley and Dr. McCoy. And I'm like, and Will, I see the connection there. And I never thought about it. And after she mentioned it, I got it. I got it. And it's not just that, like D had that horse DNA with him doing all those Westerns and riding and all that. He learned to ride. But it was the philosophy. And it's made me think Will channeled, I mean, I don't know, but between his generosity of spirit, coming from a cultural background. Yeah, he grew up in the Indian Nation on a ranch, but he was part Cherokee. He grew up with the black kids, former slaves, former freedmen after the Civil War who were working the ranch. Dan Walker and his wife Sarah were both trick ropers and were showing the kids rope tricks stuck with Will, and that's what got him into show business, was his roping, like a magician, only a trick roper, back in the day before TV and radio and movies. Live events were a big deal in the vaudeville variety shows. That's how Will got his start before he wound up being the #1 personality and king of all media in the world. And everything he said and did, so much of it is so relevant still to our times. It's scary. That's why we keep his memory alive and why we interpret him. And it's just sad because we're about to celebrate the centennial of the house. He started working on it in 1925, 26. We're coming up on the centennial of the Will Rogers Highway, Route 66. So they nicknamed it for Will, and it ends at Santa Monica, just down from the park. We will be still part of that centennial, but we had our own centennial. We just celebrated the 80th anniversary of widow Betty Rogers on her deathbed, deeding the park to the state to bank the state park. We just had the 80th anniversary party last summer. It's just such an ironic time for all this to be happening. But I want to say this because, if you're a Will Rogers fan, I think you ought to be a Trek fan and vice versa. It's just, he plunged in, I think, you couldn't have celebrities until you had mass media to have the entire country, much less the world, know who somebody was. Before that, politicians and kings? You were just starting to have the point where, like, opera singers, right? People had renown in the 1880s and 90s. Mark Twain, Florence Nightingale, some of the opera. You were just starting to have it, if they weren't kings and presidents, the public to know. And it took mass media. Well, guess who was there when mass media was being invented? And was So even in the 19 teens and 20s, celebrity benefits for disaster victims was a completely unknown, new thing. And Will was doing that, kind of inventing that, as well as the nightly monologue. and so many other things. So yeah, yeah. He was on the cutting edge of tech. He supported all the early air flyers. He was there. He wanted the latest hot thing. He was trying to get every town to build airfields. He was pushing for an air force in America while the Army and the Navy fought over who would have it. He was watching the rest of the world develop. He said before the next war, we'd better learn to fly, we'd better learn to dig. So he was very much, even though he grew up on a horse on a farm in Indian Territory in the Cherokee Nation, he was very much a futurist looking for the cutting edge tech. I said forever he would have been the first guy on his block to have a 300 baud dial-up modem in the 80s if he'd lived that long. Faster, better, the future was Will. So, yeah, I totally get the spirit of Will is the spirit of Gene and Star, a rustic version of some of the same philosophy. Diversity, equality, fairness, calling things out when they need to be called out. It's the same vibe. So I'm going to indulge here. And you know what? Even Will said one time we were getting involved way before Vietnam, in places maybe we shouldn't have been, in the 30s, when there was an uproar in China, and we had all the major powers had Navy ships looking out for their interests. And Will said something about, hey, what would we feel like if the Chinese sent their gunboats up the Mississippi and said they were just protecting their laundries in Memphis? He said, look, when you get in trouble 5,000 miles from home, you got to been looking for it. Sounds like Will kind of had a handle on the prime directive right there. Yeah. Look, I could go on with some more Willisms. I think you get my point. So it's my show. But again, thank you for indulging me with these two requests. If you're sitting there anywhere in the world and wanting to help, I know there are, just in the last week, the GoFundMes and the calls for help have been multiplying. They should. I wish we had a better system. I know there'll be government help. I know the state of California is talking about $2.5 billion to help itself. I know help is going to come from all kinds of private sources, foundations. There's one that's already working with us and other places in the Palisades to do that. Just started. Things are going to happen. I just hope and pray that we can get the area back. Same thing with all the burn areas. It's going to be humongous. Nobody deserves to be left out. That does include Western North Carolina in the mountains. Same kind of oddball circumstances to cause you to think nothing like this is ever going to happen. But tiny hollows up in the mountains with a flood, urban areas with a fire. Well, welcome to your 2020s. Let's find the real cause and do something about it. Okay. Meanwhile, these are all cases that are going to deserve to be stayed with. A lot of people are going to be hurting. A lot of people overlapping our communities. Yes. Just in our space here, let's look out for our Trek folks and indulge me a little bit. And I'm sharing this with all the folks in and out of fandom back home in Oklahoma too, because people in Oklahoma have been following the Will tragedy. It's one of 100 tragedies here in California with all the fires and individual people and losses. One of the higher profile properties. Aside from all, there's a little bit of guilt here where people don't want to feel bad about their own case because they look around, they see so many other hundreds and thousands of folks just like them. And that's true. It's just that those people are hoping to rebuild. They can't regain their personal life mementos and family memories. That is true. The structures, though, are worth rebuilding and restarting their lives. Our structure lost was a structure, but it was historic. Do you rebuild exactly to the original plan and say this is what if Mount Vernon burned down? See what I mean? That long debate about what to do when the Twin Towers went down. And that wasn't anybody's, that was more a symbol than anything. Anyway, that's going to be a long discussion months away. Right now we've got people. I appreciate it if you would jump in the links, and I'll have them again. The links to help our Will Rogers community as we look to our own and try to support them. They've supported the park so many years, and I'm so glad we've got the place so well documented. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we'll have some kind of interpretation there, but right now it's the people first, and you've also got for the folks who are horse-minded, helping Jigsaw Farms and Cha-Cha's as well. I'm going to end it there, gang. Hopefully I will see a chunk of folks at San Francisco in a little over a week. In a month, I'll be on the cruise, which is, this year started out so gung-ho. I've got some, we'll have some little news around the Trek Files when we get to premiere and debut. Hopefully in the next week, we'll have this all nailed down to be able to announce. And some really, really, really cool news here. I don't know when we get to announce it, but it's taken up a lot of time right now. The year was starting off so great. And then this. So we will recoup and rebuild, and know that so many others are doing the same thing in more than one part of the country as they are around the world. So I really appreciate everybody being with us. Hello, 2025. Really appreciate you guys here on Tuesday. I appreciate you sharing. The Will Rogers Ranch Foundation has a post on our Facebook page. We also have it on our Instagram. Those are our two main social channels. Appreciate all the sharing you can do, or even just replaying the link to our webpage that I gave you there. And at some point down the line, we'll be talking more long-term about what the interpretive nature of the park is going to be, because that place deserves to be way more than just, at some point, this guy lived here. There's a name on a sign, and I love the views and the hiking. We're going to have far more than that. You can do that anywhere. What was special about that ground? And that's going to do it, gang. Thank you so much for indulging me today, letting me take a moment of personal privilege. I have so many people to thank. I have the list here for the new year. Thank you, all of my Patreon folks, for helping us adding on to what we're doing here. So yeah, thank you for our TTL Club, Chuck A., James Kerwin, Diana Hopkins, Halbeard Gun Johnson, Lawrence Todd, Justin Weir, Mitch Keith, Andrew Jazimski, Josh Patton, Pranakasha Productions, Chris Jiggins, Keith Rombach, and Comedy Forecast. And our live wires next here up, Jesse at Crusher Convo. Yep, Greg Wickstrom, Robert McLean, Byron Bailey, J.R. Poole, Gary Williams, James Durovich, Dave Gregory, Dan Leckie, and Casey Shafsky. Thanks so much, everybody. And if you want to jump in on my humble little Patreon, there it is, $5 and $10 a month, patreon.com/TreklandLive. It's just the shout out and the $10. Guys, as soon as I get things down, one thing, we've got the wall. We're painting the wall on the good side. On the archival shelf side, hopefully in the next few days I can get that finished, and I can finally move in the rest of my office over here. I know it's crazy, right? So as you heard me say, the Trek Files, our aim is to be premiering next Monday. That might still have to be held off another week, but when we do, it'll be awesome. Our new season, and we will have some news that I want everybody to hear about. Some good news there as well. So if you're leaving us now, please check me out on all the socials, Twitter and Blue Sky. Notice I still call it Twitter. Also our YouTube, like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Also Instagram and Facebook is Larry's Trekland. Yeah. Portal47.net is your backstage pass to all things Trek. It is your mini-con all year long concerning the Star Trek creatives, all your favorite starships and sound stages. Hope you'll join us for the Portales have a great time. And it's a great community, especially when we have our also, besides our guests, the roundtables, things from my archives experience. And I love sharing that. I love sharing that. So thanks, everybody. Thanks again for being on. If you're leaving us right now, watching later on YouTube, hey, take it easy out there. Stay healthy. Do all the things. Stay woke. Check the sources. A lot of fake shit out there. And trek well, everybody. Okay, we're back scrolling. I'm just going to plunge in and say thanks and hello to everybody. And Alan, thank you so much. We've been half the week feels like it's been answering people's, texts and things. I need to do another. I keep meaning to do another video. I had a shower today for the first time in 6 days. You'd think I was burned out, but no. Between working on the wall and doing Will Rogers' business and still working on another couple of projects, it's been crazy. It's been crazy. Let me back off here a little bit. Yeah. So thanks. Thank you, everybody. Carl, as I said, yeah, we're fine out here. Good Lord. But that's what so many people thought, and so many people evacuated. You saw a lot of Trek. Terry evacuated. Aaron Walke did and posted about it. Lots more. Denise had evacuated when they were, as had David. Hi, Liebchen. Thank you for coming in from, not sure, Felmarine on Twitch. Not sure what that's supposed to mean. Cake, I didn't realize you were in Spain. That's awesome. Thank you. Hey, Ron, hadn't heard from you in a while. Good to see you. Melanie, yeah, you kind of wrap it up there, huh? Yeah. Dominic, I think it's been a while. Thank you. Hey. What do you say, Christoph? With Mark Sugar Mountain following Melon Dusk, Facebook might become difficult to continue using. Sadly, we'll see. Well, see, I thought Facebook was going to be the first one to get icky. I've said this for 3 or 4 years. I thought Facebook was the one, as we finally started to understand how algorithms are nothing but negative magnets. And a lot of the first wave of awareness especially after the 2016 elections, people were like, what is going on? And documentaries and articles and things were coming out about this. And then, yeah, Elmo went and bought Twitter and said, haha, hold my beer. Facebook. And then Instagram was pretty pictures for so long, and it was so incongruous that crappy, icky Facebook also owned pretty shiny Instagram. And boy, since the election, Instagram has just become as potted as Twitter, maybe more so. It's sad because lots of people are still trying to do their pretty pictures and their good stuff and thoughts, and there's so much bot and troll, the Photoshop signs, and just garbagey garbage. And even if it's just all automated, it's just meant to keep people in a tizzy and waste time. That's why I always say check the sources and just block. So much of this isn't even human beings. I block all the time when I see stupid stuff. One thing I wanted to say, that's why a lot of the things around the fires are just stupid. It's just stupid. One thing I didn't mention, though, was to get people around the world, around the country, a grasp on how many, when they talk about the acres, what are they up to now? 30-something thousand? I forget what we're up to now. But when it passed 12, 13, 14, 15,000, they started talking about how big Manhattan was. compared to the fire size. Like, well, imagine if all of Manhattan burned to the ground. What would that look like? If 9/11 was just like from one end to the other as far as rubble. And that's where, of course, there's not as much mass of building material, but that's where they were after 3 or 4 days, and it's doubled that since. I saw one map where they put the city limits of several major cities all within, like San Francisco and Cleveland and Milwaukee and Manhattan Island, and anyway, it's kind of amazing. But that's why the traffic situation is the way it is. Yeah, May, thank you for your thoughts. Narda, you too. Melanie, it's funny you should say that because I've wanted a hollow will to greet people. I think Claremore, the memorial at Claremore, should get 4 and let us fund one of them. I think it should be a very Disney-esque situation. You can do that. It doesn't have to be animatronic. I think a holodeck will is within reach now. Aren't they doing this in museums and things? This has totally been my ultimate goal for 3. And then you just program him and he can just say, and you can use the original recordings, and it can be radio or movies, or you can have an interpreter, an impressionist do his writing. Yeah. Hey, Brandon, good to see you, man. Thanks for chiming in. Hey, Christoph, I appreciate that. Yeah. There were a couple of fires popping up, but they got to them in between LA and San Bernardino and Riverside. The hour in between us, they were popping up when the winds were, and of course we're not out of it yet. There have been a couple of there was one that popped up in Riverside near Mount Rubidoux that Janet and I climbed, and I put some pictures on Instagram about 2 weeks ago. And it popped up and they got it put down very quickly. Yes, Dominic. As she said, the only house she'd ever owned, the house she met her husband in. Yeah. Hi, Wanda. You've donated to WCK. I'm not sure what that is, but good on you. And thanks. Yeah, William. If you didn't hear, we lost a big chunk of Will's heritage. Hi, Ian. Such as it is. Yeah. Thank you, Narda, for saying that. If it's a Star Trek show, it's first and foremost about humanity. No, it's the trivia, Narda. It's the trivia. Dave, hi, and thanks to you. Red Shirt Bob, I grew up in central Oklahoma. I know all about Tornado Alley. Thankfully, I never had damage. We went to the cellar twice. And both times, not until I was like in high school. Grew up in Oklahoma, never was that close. But oh my gosh, it's so much worse now. Yeah, well, the recovery, the fires are, once you're burned out, the recovery is months long, just as it is when they come in and clean up. When they cleaned up in Moore. Yeah. Too true. And all the surrounding states, Washington, Oregon, Nevada, Arizona, Idaho, I think. Probably more than that. Just thanks, everybody. Oh, a Trek Yards raid? Okay. Did anybody pick up on any of my message today, I wonder? Oh. Yeah, some of this, the West Hills fire, the west side of the valley going up into Calabasas, apparently was started by a mentally ill person. Homeless, mentally ill person. Hi, Philip. Um, have you joined us on Philip? Hi. I feel like I've seen your name, and I forgive me if we've met in person somewhere, but thank you for chiming in. You had to come back up to LA this weekend for your dad's 60th birthday. When you went to Thousand Oaks this week, you couldn't believe what I saw with the fires. Yeah. Yeah. Dr. Dave, thank you. Heart goes out to everybody. Fire NASA JPL was not burned, but at least 150 JPL employees lost their homes in the Altadena. It's just JPL was just west of there. I mean, like what, a mile or two or three? Yes. Yeah. Dr. Dave, let us know if there's any similar kind of in community anything happening for that, or if, I mean, I know now state parks has a little bit of a fund for employees. I'm hoping JPL NASA has something for, I don't know how that's all set up and structured, but let me know or share if there's something we can do for the JPL community. Oh boy. Oh boy. Hi, Mike. Canada wishing for relief and safety to all Angelinos. Thank you, and I think they were from Quebec, but thank you, Canada, for the huge water scoopers. Carl, no one was hurt at the ranch. They had closed for the fire danger, and like I said, there were about 10 staff and people standing around that ran in to help pull things out. Cha-Cha and her people ran in and got their horses out of the stable. So yeah, no one was injured at the ranch. Patricia Jolie, Cassian Power Rangers Turbo and Power Ranger Space, is a firefighter. Good for her. Good for her. Hi, John Ross. Today you're 36. Well, happy birthday. John, are you new to Tuesdays Live? I don't remember if I've seen your. If you had, that's wonderful. Thanks. Good to see you popping up or getting back in. But happy birthday. And I just have to say, John Ross was the name of two principal chiefs of the Cherokee Nation in the 1800s, including the chief who was long served and through the Civil War. And oh boy, speaking of the Cherokees and Will's forebears, thank you, Narda. Thank you. Thank you, Rose, for chiming in as usual. Yes. Yeah. Hey, Dave, thank you for this very much. Yeah. There were some people, the last Trek cruise that left from LA, I had some special Trek, Trek day tours set up for those folks the day before and the day after. And people took advantage of either one. And a couple of people, on an extra day away, came by the Sunday that I was doing tours at the ranch, which was cool. We have pictures. He was wearing his Trekland Treks special cruise T-shirt. Yeah. Ian, thank you so much for joining in from Edinburgh, and thank you for that. Yeah. Who started the Star Fires? I'm not sure which one you're talking about, William. They have somebody in custody for the Kenneth Fire. Boy, for a minute there was a fire called the Archer Fire, and we were all like, oh no, but it was put out very quickly. Comedy, thank you so much. I hesitate sometimes to cross my worlds, Some of my like my Instagram says Trekland, but it's my Twitter and my Trekland Instagram are everything, and Sooners and politics and everything, and Facebook is differentiated, and this is supposed to be a Trek show, so I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. I'm just trying to use all my channels to support something in time of need. I also know a lot of people are sitting at home. They either just give to something generic like the Red Cross, but they don't know. And people know that there's a lot of administrative people like to know, I think, if there's pockets, if there's buckets for locals run by locals. And sometimes simpler is better. And so that's why I said, you know what? Everybody else is going to be out there, if not already. I mean, it's sad because it's just going to be a flood. There are so many people in need that the individual GoFundMes are just going to drown out each other, I'm afraid. We had, I didn't talk about the individual losses. I know we have, I should have put this up front. Maybe we'll do this. Let me, but thank you, Comedy, for that sentiment. Thank you very much. That gets me. I should say, what's the time mark on this? I should say that we 5620. I should say that we've had at least 3 of our docents lose homes. I'm not choking up, guys. I'm just excuse me, live. My eyes are fine. It was just my nose. No, I should say, too, that to quantify things a little bit, so far we know that 3 of our docents, our volunteers, lost their homes. Our chief interpreter, who gives so much, is kind of like my working partner when we do high-end events. Our chief interpreter lost his home right there in the heart of Palisades. And one of our board members and co-founders of the foundation, whose grandfather was Will and Betty's ranch manager. They built their little home when they moved in as young folks in 1933. And one of our board members, their granddaughter, has lived in it for the last 20 years. And aside from it being her home, it was historic on its own. A little cottage bungalow about a mile from the park on the west side. And she lost that. And as I said, our horse vendor lost her home. So that's just what we have compiled so far. And there may be more. I can't imagine more of our docents and some of our other staff that work in maintenance, in outdoors, landscaping. Some more of them aren't burned out as well. Okay. Well, actually, Liebchen, you say that, but if you go back to the aughts, the 19 aughts and the 19 teens and 20s, Will was very much an American, a UK thing. In fact, he started his daily news column during a British tour when he was defending the Prince of Wales. He had a really funny column. There was a lot of royals watching. And we're talking about the one that later abdicated. But when he was younger, the young playboy, he was on his horse and the horse fell and people were criticizing the prince for not being a better horseman. And if he's going to be the future king, he shouldn't be riding horses because he could have got killed. He could have broke his neck. And Will was saying, hey, lay off the prince. He says, I don't know a lot, but I know horses. And I have this, I can kind of tell you that if you're on a horse and the horse stumbles and falls, it takes a mighty special kind of horseman to linger up there in the air until the horse can get back up and get back underneath you. You tend to have a tendency to fall when your horse falls. Anyway, he wrote some little bits that the New York Times published, and then he stopped it when he came home, and they said, why'd you stop? And that was the beginning of his daily telegram, almost like a blog from wherever he was in the world. So yeah, the Brits knew, and you're in Scotland. I'm not trying to lump everybody together, but the Brits were very much fans and supporters of Will in the 19 aughts and teens and 20s. and joined in mourning him when he was silenced after the plane crash. Yeah, Dave, we were making plans. This whole thing about the house, the original little one floor house before it was built out. We're gonna have a whole centennial era from 1925 to 1935, and then overlapping with the Route 66 centennial in 2026, the Will Rogers Highway. And we'll still be doing a lot of that kind of thing. It'll just be a completely different focus. Yeah. Yeah. And we just had the 80th anniversary of the park itself, of Betty's dedication of the deed. Yeah, we're going to start hitting a lot of 20s and 30s anniversaries of the modern world are coming up. Doom, doom. Sorry, guys. I have got gunk in my throat. So sorry. Oh, wow. Red shirt. You saw the original Will Rogers story that Will Jr. played. Yes. That's like the 50th. And Jane Wyman played Betty. Yeah. Yeah. That's an oldie. There's been the Will Rogers Follies, the musical, since then. I don't think they did a movie of the Follies, but there's an independent movie coming called The Will to Win. It's about a young Cherokee girl in high school in Claremore or in Tulsa. It plays softball, and she's torn, and she's an orphan living with her grandmother, who's very traditional, and she's struggling to go back and forth between the modern world and the Cherokee world, and be with her friends and play softball. And she goes to Will Rogers High in Tulsa, and she when she gets down, she goes by and she looks at the Will Rogers statue there and talks to him. And one day the statue talks back, and they're hoping it's a great reintroduction of Will to a modern audience, into a sensibility that can take him, because oh my gosh, it's just so reassuring, if nothing else, to read what he was talking about in the 20s and 30s, and knowing that 98% of the shit we go through. Oh, you took conservation, when the New Deal programs about conservation were coming up, like tree planting, and the other side, the Republicans, were making fun of planting trees out across the Great Plains to try to stop the Dust Bowls. Oh, yeah. Well, good. Yes, we'll take all the advice we can get, Donnie. Oh, gosh, Christoph, you've checked in. Good on them. See, the horses. Horses are the emotional thing. I saw people posting and said, "Oh my God, it's so sad what happened to Will Rogers. Did the horses make it?" I felt like McCoy saying, "Yes, we will." And the people did too. I mean, horses. So yeah, that's great. That may have included the 4 days of feed that a local feed place put in on this. Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate it as always. Yeah. Hey, Rose, a special Trekland Tuesdays Live 60th anniversary pilot of Star Trek The Cage. Well, it's wrapped. I think I may have missed the wrap date too. Section 31 is coming. Yeah, we have Section 31 in a week. We'll see. I have to watch the other half of the screener. What are you saying? Carl, thank you. I'm glad that you're here. Thank you. And thank you guys with the back scrolling. Yeah, it's May. We didn't set a goal. We were just collecting. I don't want to say it's old fashioned. We didn't do a GoFundMe because we had a corporate, our Will Rogers Film Pioneers is a support system for people who work in the movie theater business, not the movies, but the people that own theaters and their employees who, they don't have a union. They don't have anything behind them. And so nationwide, they support people who work, owners and mid-level people who work at movie chains. And then, just the hired help, the kids and people that work in movie theaters. and they have some big industry tie-ins. They're very substantial. If you want to look at it's the successor to the original medical foundation that Will started in the 30s in the Will Rogers hospitals that were originally there for TB, and now they became spun off. They're in upstate New York. What do I want to say? Saginaw is Michigan. I've gone blank on the town in upstate New York, near the Finger Lakes. Spun off on its own, but they were the original Will Rogers hospitals, and they still collect money in the theaters once a year, every year, just as they did as a memorial to his death. So yeah. But yeah, donations are coming in. So it's a built donation link. It's not a GoFundMe, but we're just trying to raise as much as we can. So we've got I don't know, maybe up to a dozen people. We're just trying to get them as much money as they try to work through all these months of extra costs while they don't have a house or they're paying, apartment rent or hotel or whatever they're doing. But we have started to get some money in. Yes. We kind of launched it Friday and been slow to get the word out. But people have been responding. And thank you, May, for asking. Hey, Scottish Trucker, thank you. I appreciate that. Hi, Dean. Yeah. Well, yeah, an area much larger than Paris had burned. Yeah. Yep. Linda, hi, thanks. Yes, we're good. Well, that's good. Orange County's been very quiet, Dean. So I hope that stays that way. You've got the hills on the inland side of Orange County, and you've got the beaches too. A lot of concrete, a lot of asphalt. It's like Janet said, who thought anything in LA would burn? It's all concrete and asphalt, but it's the edges and then where it can come in like that. Zahir, World Central Kitchen, founded by... Okay, if you'd said Chef Andres, yes, Chef Andres is here. He'd been in Gaza. Now they're setting up here. Hey, Southern Taran. If you're new to Trekland Tuesdays, welcome. I don't recognize your name. Maybe you've lurked or maybe you're here first time. But thank you for coming by. Normally, we're all about the Trek. Today was a little bit different. And there's a hashtag coupling that I use. Hashtag not Star Trek, hashtag but it is. And that's the way I feel about today's show. I should have said that up front. You guys, I'm glad you guys found each other. And thank you, Cake. Yeah, I'm getting that. Yeah. I've never seen it called WCK. It's always just been Chef Andre's thing. But yes. Yeah. Hi, Shannon. I'm seeing so many new folks here. Wait a minute. Southern Taran YouTube is Shannon here on Facebook. Okay, that's cool. Oh, hey, Philip. Sorry, and your picture here is so tiny. Oh, you saw but didn't meet. Yes, make sure and say hi, and please keep enjoying everything here on Trekland. There's a lot of free stuff, and then also the stuff that keeps my bills paid. Hi, James. Yeah. Yes. Thank you for that again. I'm glad we had the Star Trek Scotland reunion thing going on here. Chris, good to see you too, my friend. Thank you. Oh, William, come on. Yes, the museum. We had the lived house. The Memorial Museum, is in Claremore, just northeast of Tulsa, right off I-44 or right off Route 66, the Will Rogers Highway. Yeah, they're just about to add on to it. And the Will Rogers birthplace is right outside of Claremore in Oologah. Will said he always claimed Claremore for his hometown because only an Indian can pronounce Oologah. He said, life's tough enough without lugging Oologah around your back pocket your whole life. No, I said it may have been a campfire, as in some homeless person with a little fire. The campfire was the one that burned out Paradise. Huge, but a little mountain town, which you all. Paradise's burnout is a lot like Western North Carolina. It's all rural, and once it got going, it was hard to deal with. Donna, thank you so much. You're not on here very often, I think, but I thank you for dropping by today. And David, thank you so much, man. You're on the ball here. There you go, everybody. If you want to support talk about the real space wizards of JPL, there you go. You saw would you say how many were burned out on the JPL, of the JPL employee family, David? You didn't say 150. Anyway. Hey, Jesse. Well, you know how well I am. Oh, either real TB. You talking about Will's Ranch? Yeah, it was just the spirit of Will was everywhere. It was people that didn't know Will just knew it was an urban oasis. It was wonderful for picnicking and hiking, trail riding. You could bring your horse out there, run the dogs, play frisbee. Go up to Inspiration Point. And here's the thing, gang: the dirt will all be there. The trees will recover. The dirt will be there. The vistas will still be there. Eventually, the views will green up again. That's all nature renewing itself. The man-made features are what we lost. And it's going to be interesting to see what we all get together on about what are the goals and status of the park itself. Because the property, the land is worth tons. However, the Rogers family, through Betty's deed, this was the first historical state park and the first one deeded to the state like this, that was structures and developed. And it has some special things. Back during the budget crisis days, about 15 years ago, that it came into play then. If the state ever wants to get rid of the park, it goes back to the family, which by now would be splintered up in a million pieces, and nobody wanted that. They always wanted the park there as a legacy monument for Will, for people to enjoy in all the ways. The ways he enjoyed it, riding his horse around with his family and friends there, as well as people remembering Will as a legacy monument to him. Yeah. Not sure. What did you see on TCM? But okay. What are you saying, Melanie? Your grandpa was 1901, grandma was 1902. They lived in Hall County, Nebraska, and escaped the Dust Bowl in 39 and settled in Rio Dell, California, 30 miles south of Eureka. A few months later, the Dust Bowl subsided. Yeah. Oh, Jesse, yeah, being from California and seeing the tragedy unfold. Yeah. Yeah, that's the way I was right after we moved to LA and watched the Murrah building be bombed in Oklahoma City, like 9 months later. I say that. August to April. 8 months later. Yes, or the May 3rd tornado in 99, which was insane. On the ground for 60, 80 miles, whatever that was. Everybody, again, thank you so much for all your kind words, and everybody. Rose, trying to get back on the Star Trek track. A lot of people are excited. I don't know, Rose. How about what Second Opinion will say about? Rose, you are watching Second Opinion, right? You are subscribed to my channel, right? Okay. Oh, Cake, you did your Section 31 prep. All righty then. Jay-Z, are you new to Tuesdays too? I don't think so, just the way you're talking there, but it's good to see you. Hopefully you'll subscribe and do all the things and hang around Trekland a little too and check out the rest of the channel, although it's not just the channel. First Trek TV movie ever. I guess, yeah, I guess you'd have to say that. It's an ultimate origin story for Trek. Hi, James. I know you've crossed paths on Tuesdays before. Glad you dropped by today. You talking about Section 31? Okay, I have to watch the second half. But we're just as long as we're not confused with the Origins movie that's going to be theatrical. That's supposed to be on track to start pre-production in the next month or two. Yeah, you're not alone, Liebchen. Waiting for Legacy may be at least a 2 or 3 year wait, as I keep diagramming. I would rather have TV series than one-off films, although this might, if it clicks, this might be a series of films, whether or not they have Michelle Yeoh or not. Well, I'm so glad everybody is a fan of Trek culture, and you come on here to tell me what you're excited to see about Trek culture. Scott and Kyle put a lot of time and effort into Second Opinion, gang. If you've not seen any Second Opinions, you should check them out. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say zero chance, Jay-Z. Just it's not going to happen for at least 3 years. Got to see what the industry does and what Paramount does. Oh, Lake Charles. Okay, just being enigmatic. Okay, well that at least puts it. Then yay. Okay, I'm glad you found your way back to Tuesdays here. This is the thing. This is my ultimate hope, Jay-Z. Yeah. I hope at this point I have more faith in the TV side folks than the random movie folks that come in. No problem. I just saw that it was the exact same post and I was like, am I having a troll pop up here? Oh no, it's different platforms. Oh, I believe it, Liebchen. Look, I'm okay. So of my mom and dad, my 2 linear through grandparents, I am a 4th German, a 4th Czech, and both couplings, they always just said Scots-Irish. So, yeah. James, what does he say? Do people like it when Trek is not too Trekky? Well, I think you've got 2 terms there that need definition. Because see here, Jay-Z's confused. Trek is always Trekky. Thank you, William. That's what I thought he said. 150 burnouts. Yeah. Hey, Bob P. I appreciate that. I had a call to action there for a couple. Yeah. Scottish Trekker, what are you apologizing for? I won't stop you, but what are you apologizing for? Yeah. Hey, is modern storytelling changing Trek? Well, is it changing it or is Trek having to adapt? Because I think since Discovery, there's been a learning curve about dealing with streaming. And I think the learning curve has gotten better. How you tell a Star Trek story through a 10-episode streaming lens is something, or how you tell how you keep a running arc that's not the dominant thread, right? It's not 10 chapters in a novel. It's 10 books in a series that had, it's the Hardy Boys with the same friends. If us Scots are taking your chat away from your subject, no, 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 Scottish ST. No, this happens all the time. People compare languages, they compare geography, they compare the weather reports. It's fine. It's fine. You're fine. I just let you have your conversations and scroll past. I'm thrilled to be a conduit. I'm happy to be a hub for global Trektivism here. It's great. Responding to distress signals is very Trek. Yeah, very altruistic. Exactly. Thank you. You got my point. Oh, hi, Donna. Well, good. Thank you. That's fine. I've had people pop up and say they lurked forever, but they've been watching. It's great. Just glad to have you along. I know it's 3 hours later. So there you go. Hey, talking about Trek, thank you. If I've either replied lately or I need to, I think. But I will. But thank you for that also. Hey, Jim, can't wait for Section 31. Well, you've only got about 8 days left to wait, I think. 9, 10. It's a Friday, not a Thursday, because it's a movie. Oh yeah. The guys are on me to get going with it so we can get it done before the San Francisco weekend next weekend. Oh, you talking about the May? People just call it the May 3rd tornado. That's local. Yeah, May 3rd, 1999. I was there in June. My old former city editor, when I was back for SoonerCon, drove me around through Moore, and we went out to the west side. But sitting here watching it, and CNN and the news channels were just carrying it was just like guys, it was like 5 years before the Murrah building bombing, the Oklahoma City bombing. All the national networks and CNN just carried the local news feed. And that's what happened with the tornado. But when I saw Gary England having a heart attack, the damn thing was it didn't hopscotch and go up. It stayed on the ground and gathered so much debris and got bigger and bigger and bigger. It had orbital tornadoes. I mean, it was just surreal. It's like what you try to imagine this for an alien planet or something in a sci-fi movie. It was just nobody doing I think Twister was done. No, Twister came before this. Yeah. The first Twister movie. But yeah, they had to add an upper level scale for wind speed after that. It was insane that it was on the ground for so long and so much distance. Insane. And it basically went southwest to northeast, but there have been tornadoes that don't do the southwest to northeast pattern now. They're bonkers. Yeah. Well, James, enjoy Section 31 because it'll be another 3 or 4 months maybe until Strange New is out. Talk about withdrawals after these got you ramped up these last few years. Oh my gosh. He was next door to the bombing. Yeah. My mom's then across the street neighbors were down there doing some Social Security business. Thank you, Jim. Can I use this for a testimonial? Thank you. We don't promote second opinion near enough. Now, Jay-Z, are you saying that you didn't enjoy Lower Decks or you just want to make sure you have all of it? I like your thinking, Bob D. We should use this too. Thank you for that. Philip, yes. Definitely see you at Vegas. Absolutely. But it's time to join Trekland. Yes, you should. Now, the ultimate is joining Portal 47, which it's not that expensive. Yeah. I'm going to do this while I've got you here, Bob D. Okay. But Philip, I look forward to it. Make sure you say hi. Yeah, or wherever we're crossing paths live, right? How do we think Skydance will treat Trek? Ellison's a fan. They co-produced the last couple of. I've said this. They co-produced the last couple of Kelvin movies, but that's only because that was the only thing there was for them to get involved with, right? So now that they've got the whole ball of wax, Skydance was the best possible outcome for Trek and for Paramount as we know it. So they may still sell off some things, but they're trying to keep the legacy thing together, keep the studio, the lot together in Hollywood. Hopefully they treat it well. Now there may be changes. I'm still, and they want to keep Paramount Plus as a streaming entity and not just sell it off to bundle it somewhere. So we'll see. And of course, the TV shows would have not gone with the channel. We'll see. We'll see what happened. But that was the best. I think most people agreed that was the best possible outcome. Oh, Melanie, I see what you mean. Watch parties for Section 31, Seventh Rule, and Trek Yards. Well, you know what? I'm going to be in San Francisco. It debuts. It debuts on the Friday of San Fran. So we'll be up there. Oh, thank you, Rose, for out there beating the bushes for me. Thank you. I appreciate it. What I think of Skydance taking the helm, like I said, I think I'm not standing out in the field by myself here. I think that was the best possible outcome. Hey, James Caserta, did I go to the Big Apple in New York, Comic-Con? The oldest and not the biggest by far. Like 2016 or so, they actually invited me to be a guest, and it was very strange. Instead of paying me, I had to pay. It was very weird. I had to pay them to be a guest or something strange out of merchandise. It's very strange. They paid for my air ticket, but then they didn't have a hotel room, and I stayed with somebody, but then I didn't even get a per diem. It was weird. Had a great time. I got to see the hotel before it was torn down where the first con was. Met new people, got some new members, new portal people. But that was, 2016, I thought. I've never posted that video. I should do that. Good for you all, Christoph. Good for you. Oh, hi, Sophie. Sophie, have you been on with us on Tuesdays? If not, if so, great. Good to see you again. But I was thinking maybe you have. But thank you. Short Trek break is acceptable as long as it doesn't repeat the years of sadness between Voyager and Discovery. Or even Enterprise. See, have you already forgotten Enterprise? Yeah, that was 12 years. No, I think Paramount is smart enough never to let 12 years of small screen Star Trek go by. You say that, never say never again, but I think they've learned a lesson. Watch party in some groups. Yeah. Thanks, Christoph. I don't know if we're getting to the end here. Yes. You and whose army? Southern. Taran. Yeah. Oh, come on now. You've got your own show, Crusher Convo. But thank you for that. Yeah. Well, I'll just say, Michael, you're part of a big club. It talked about that. That's one of the endearing things about Lower Decks. How many people were... I can see being skeptical, comedy and animation. But I think it won people over. Yes. It was a huge love letter to fandom. And also not just Easter eggs, right? Taran, you don't have to lie at all. We all get it. I'm glad it was there where it was. It had a great cast, and it kept a lot of fans occupied, and it was there for new fans. Otherwise, there's not much point to it. What's the point? What's the value of telling stories in that universe? Which is why it's ending. It was treading water, I guess. Melanie, I'm betting that somebody will do something. They may put it on at the bar or something. I don't know. Maybe they'll have a room of the con space that, thank you, Liebchen. Are you asking about my thoughts on Icheb's death in Picard, or you have thoughts? Because yeah, but that's kind of that's kind of out of the blue. It's sad they killed the character off. I knew some of that is they're taking it out on Manu. It was really, really just as a moment about the goriest thing ever on a Star Trek, of even the moderns. I don't know. Yes, you will be at STLV, Jesse, and don't be nervous. It'll be fun. It'll just zoom by. You'll be exhausted, and it'll be over before you know it. Rose, I appreciate your promotion. Thank you so much. Oh, you watched Enterprise out of fan duty twice. Have you watched it lately? It might ease up a little. There's a lot of, especially the fourth season. Did you enjoy the fourth season better than the earlier three? Yeah. Thank you, Dean. James, you're asking me if I've tried pitching to the little 10 episode shows. There's 18 in the writer's room and only 10 slots. They don't do outside pitches unless you come in with something really unique and dynamic and you're an established writer with an agent. Maybe the days of 26 shows a year and Michael needs help, those are long gone. But look, everybody, I think we're at the end of the chat as we know it. So I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to refresh here. I'm going to run this is our Will Rogers Ranch Foundation, our nonprofit that supports, no past tense, supports state parks in running Will Rogers State Historic Park. This is our foundation's fund for helping our state park staff and docents and vendors and board member, as I was mentioning, who are burned out completely. Yeah, and then here, once again, is the Jigsaw Farms GoFundMe for the horses and her burnout personally of work and home, and her office work site was the stables at the park. So, and for the 10 horses and for a little something for her employees, her 4 employees that now have no work and no jobs. In fact, all the service provided, they're talking about how that entire part of town, gardeners and housekeepers, cleaners, they've all been gutted for income. They may be just fine, but they've got no work now. So a lot of that's going to be going to, a lot of the support funds and things are going to be going for them. And then also, I don't have it here handy, but Dr. Dave left the GoFundMe or whatever it was for 150 JPL. God, that just... that just finally let that get me. Thanks for having that, Dr. Dave. Yeah, everybody, thank you for the chat. We will get through this. It's just going to be a long time. And I don't like this comparison, but it's not a contest between North Carolina and California and any other disaster site still rebuilding. Everybody deserves a continuous, stable, something you can count on, reliable, platform for recovery. That also includes the folks in Puerto Rico that got the shaft after the hurricane. They lost power and all of that too. Yes. And I am, somebody asked me one more question. Oh, there you go. Star Trek Family will be on at 4 p.m. I'm sure they'll be talking about it. Hey, Melanie, whoever is going to be at the Star Trek Family Zoom, would you please let them know that I was I was boosting their signal too, along with mine. Okay. Um, yes, everybody. Uh, am I agented? Well, I guess I have an attorney now. I had an agent once for books. Yeah. Someone asked me something. Will I be at Vegas? Yes, I can. I've been to. I've never missed a Vegas, including the first year when it was Dave Scott and Slanted Fedora. Before Creation took it, started running the one in August in 2002, in some capacity. Yes, Rose, we were talking about this. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Talking about. Yeah, I have not missed one. In the beginning, it was covering, and then it was working with StarTrek.com, and then it was my own. Since 2008, it's been me, myself, and I as Dr. Trek and Trekland. So, yeah. Listen, everybody. Once again, I reran the links there. Dr. Dave's link for JPL is further up in the chat. I'll be reprinting that too on my pages. Everybody, we have Section 31 to look forward to. Yay! This con, the new Creation Regional that I get to go to, San Fran is and have shows. Is next weekend. That's great too. But there's going to be a lot of you'll see we've talked about the entertainment industry ripples from the fires across LA, Altadena, and the Palisades, both. So do what you can to help and spread the word. When you do what you can do, the other thing you can do is just sharing and keeping it active. And yes, no one part of the country deserves to be forgotten. I got to go, guys. Trek well. Yeah. What? Oh, oh, oh. Get off the phone. It's off. Okay. Yeah. I stepped in this bit. Oh, okay. I don't know. I don't know yet. Okay. I went down hard. I don't think I might be. Hush. Sit on this bench. Yeah. Okay. I want you to put the phone back in your place. How's my face? Oh, yeah. Cut on your line. 2, 3. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'll sit down in my chair. Okay, well, they may be swollen, but they can be crushed. Oh, yeah. Hey, everybody. I guess I didn't change the thing. I'll finish this out. I don't have to edit this. This is for the later. We had an emergency accident on the construction site, but everything is okay. Didn't mean to leave you so abruptly. Yeah, this is just the live copy that no one's going to see. Just so you know, everything's good. We were getting off. We were saying our goodbyes, of course. All it came down to me to say was, everybody, please take care of yourselves out there. Stay healthy, do all the things, stay woke, check your sources, and trek well, everybody. Thanks for whatever help you can help our Will Rogers community. Okay. Thanks. And yeah, trek well.